back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you.
Welcome, guys. Hey, thank you so much, GSMDM, for the blessing of that. I want to share with you guys, every year we do support GSMDM, and the way we support them is the offering that you guys give today. All of it will go to it. So if you came here and you feel like the Lord wants to use you and use your offering for the blessing of that, everything that goes in the box will go to GSMDM today. Okay. One of the things that we do here at TLC is we do support missions. We always support missions, and we pray that God will use them mightily and greatly for His work over there as they bless people with health, and as God brings them closer to Him. All right. So just remember, when time to come, response time and offering, all your offering will be given to that. So just pray about it, and if God puts it on your heart, feel free to come up. All right, and do that. Awesome. You guys doing all right? You guys doing all right? Looking good. Man, I'm feeling a little tired today. A little like groggy for some reason. All right. But let me give you this word, because the word is good. All right. We are in a series called Everyday Worship. Everyday Worship. It's a series with the intention of asking the question, how do I worship God every day of my life, right? Not just on Sundays, which we tend to do often, but how do we worship God in every aspect, every corner, and every decision-making process of our lives? How do we live our life in such a way where we are giving God honest worship? And so that's the series we're going through. And we started with this letter that Peter wrote. Peter was one of the original disciples of Jesus, and he is right at this point in the letter preaching or pastoring at a church in Rome. Okay. Now the problem was he's writing a letter to a bunch of people who was once in Rome. There were Christians in Rome, and then the emperor said, you know what, I'm tired of you Christians. You're making a big mess. You're just giving me a headache. So he basically took up this Christian group with a bunch of other Romans, and he colonized them over in Turkey, Asia Minor. And now they're in a new place. There were new people, new surroundings, and they're having a hard time. Right, God's people, Peter's church. They're having a hard time. They don't know what to do. They're financially in ruins. They're having issues with the locals. They're having issues with the people they're talking to. And they don't know what they should do. Part of them wants to compromise. Part of them wants to fight back. Part of them wants to do a lot of different things to kind of just assert some sort of authority, and they're suffering. They're having a hard time. Their family's suffering. Their children are suffering. People around them are having a hard time. So they're writing, and they're asking Peter, what do we do? And sometimes we're like that too. Whenever we find ourselves in a tough situation, it's really hard to begin to worship God, right? I mean, when we're in a bad place, worshiping God tends to be the last thing we want to do. But Peter writes them this letter, and he writes them in a way that reminds them how to worship God every day, and even in the midst of the struggle. And he starts the letter, just a review, with chapter 1 saying this. He's saying, do you not remember who you are? I mean, if you've forgotten who you are, that makes sense. But do you not remember who you are? From the moment God made creation, He knew your name. Before He placed the stars in the sky, Peter wrote, you were called by name. You were not accidents. You were not some random fluke. You are not trash. He has called you by name from the beginning of time. And therefore, the things that He is working in you is always for a purpose, and is always for your good. He says, have you forgotten who you are? Have you forgotten? Right? Because when you forget, it's like a brother walking up to a bathroom, right? And he starts asking himself the question, am I allowed to walk in here? Like I know the sign that said, do I need to prove myself to be like a guy, do a bunch of push-ups before I walk into the men's bathroom, right? I mean, that's you forgetting who you are. And so Peter's saying, did you forget who you are? That you're not some random bunch of people. You are God's chosen group. Before the world began, He knew you. And not only did He know you, He has called you holy. And I know that's crazy, right? I know y'all looking at each other like, holy. I would not use that word to describe him, right? That mug ain't holy. I mean, she ain't holy. He ain't holy. There's a lot of different things I would use, but the word holy is not that word, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? But yet God said this. You're not holy because of you. you're not holy because of what you did. You're holy because of what Christ has given to you. You're holy because of the position he has offered to you, right? You're holy because of the standing that Jesus Christ has laid down for you, right? In Vietnam, like I told you the story about Angelina Jolie adopting that Paxton, right? He's the Vietnamese kid. Like, who is this kid? He was an orphan. Nobody. And yet now what? He's a Jolie Pitt, right? He's a Jolie Pitt, one of the A-list stars' kids. Who is this kid? Nobody. He is not who he is because of his ability. He is who he is because of the name that was given to him. You guys follow? Right? And so when God says you are holy, it's not because you're special. It's because of what Christ has given to you that sets you apart. He has given you his name and he's given you his position. I said, why would you forget that? That you are given an amazing position, that you are holy, that you are chosen, and even beyond that, you have been given a duty. You are called God's royal priesthood, his chosen generation. Peter is saying, he has given you the most amazing task of bringing people to him, that through you, you are the conduit of blessing other people, that you are considered to be called priests before God. That what you say, what you do has the ability of connecting everyone and anyone you come in contact with to God. You are a chosen generation to do this work. He has called us. And so here's a group of Christians in Turkey whining and complaining about how bad life is. And Peter starts off and he says, do you remember who you are? You are chosen. You are known. You are holy. And you are sent out. You have been given a task. You're not some random group of people. And therefore, now, because this is who you are, this is what you're going to do. Right? Peter's laying it down because you need to worship God. They're having a hard time giving thanks, giving worship, giving honor to God. And so they're actually figuring out, what am I supposed to do, Peter? I'm in a tough place. I'm in a foreign land. Nobody knows me. My family's suffering. You're telling me I need to worship God. How am I supposed to do that? First, you got to remember who you are. You got to remember that you're not just some random fluke of accident. You are chosen before creation even began. You were holy because of what Christ has made you to be, and you have been given an amazing task to do. Your life has a trajectory towards purpose. So even if you are in this position, you are in this position for something bigger. Even if you are facing difficulties, you're going to face difficulties for something bigger. Right? So that's the principle that Peter lays down. And then he begins to, chapter 2 and chapter 3, chapter 4, lay down what you need to do. You see, as Christians, we don't just do things, right? I mean, sometimes Christians, we get a bad rep. Like, I don't want to be a churchgoer because churchgoers, I got to be limited. I got to do all this kind of crazy stuff. Actually, no. You do it based upon what you know. You do it based upon who you are, and this is the result of that. This is what you do. This is the action you take because of the principle of who you are. All right? And so what did Peter tell him to do? First he says, submit. You're in a foreign land, submit to the authorities. Don't fight against them. Don't make their life hard. Don't make your life hard. Submit. Listen to them. Right? Be good citizens. Be the best citizens possible. Right? Don't go around whining and complaining why you don't have this, that, and this, but be the best citizens possible. And then he goes on and says, but not only do you have to be good citizens, you have to be good family members. The children, submit to your parents. Submit to them because God has placed them in your life to lead you towards them. So submit to your parents. They're there to guide you. They're there to give you a trajectory of wisdom. Even though, of course, there's bad parents. I'm not going to say there's bad parents, there's bad government. Those are the outliers. But the ideal is to submit to your parents. It says, ladies, submit to your husband. Not out of service to him. You're not a maid when you submit to your husband. Submit to your husband in such a way where together, right, you follow your husband and you guys walk your family into a legacy, a journey for the future. To submit. And then submit to the government, submit to your family, and then submit to this idea of this, that you're going to have to suffer for doing good. You're going to do good. No matter how bad things get, no matter how much you want to compromise, no matter how bad you want to twist your fate, you're going to do good and you're going to suffer for it, but do good anyways. And when you do that, that's how you begin to worship. When you begin to see worship, when you walk out into the city life and you begin to submit as good citizens to the world around you, the government around you, you're worshiping God. When you in your family begin to submit to your wives, or your husbands to your wives to your husband, children to their parents, you're beginning to worship God. When you seek to do good, even in the midst of suffering for doing it, when you seek to do right, even when right means that you're going to get something bad out of it, you are worshiping God. And Peter kind of sums that up in the last part. He says this, because you know why? Because the end is coming. The end is near. You don't know when Jesus is coming back, and you want to be ready for it. So live such a life. All right? And so we come into the last part right here. That's the review. We come to this part right here, chapter 5, when Peter now addresses his leaders in the church, people who are in charge of caring for the souls of the rest of the people in the church. He is talking to those who deem themselves and call themselves leaders in general, in particular and in general, right? He is addressing them and he's telling them these are the qualities you should have as a leader, because your job is to teach them the principle, live a way in such that you will be an example for them so that they can see you, so that they will walk as well to worship God. You gotta be a model. And so he calls everyone to be leaders. And specifically, he's talking about pastors here, right? But we can learn some biblical principles as leaders. We can learn some biblical principles to be better leaders in this situation, okay? So my thing is this. Today, your job as you guys are listening to me preach about this is one. You guys got to learn to keep pastors accountable. You got to ask the question, are my pastors doing this? Are the people who are in charge of me, are they having these specific qualities? 2, if you are going to be a husband, you got to ask yourself the question, am I as a husband, do I have these leadership qualities? Do I have these leadership skill sets? Do I have these things that Peter is talking about? Because I'm going to be a leader, and my ministry is my family. I'm going to shepherd my family. So I have to ask the question, am I doing that? If you are everyone else, you have to ask the question, God calls me to be a disciple maker, meaning I am supposed to lead somebody. Everyone is a disciple maker, so I'm going to lead somebody. So my question is, do I have these qualities coming in? You guys follow? Okay, today we're going to learn those qualities. We're going to figure out what the qualities are. We're going to learn it. And let me show you a video. A lot of times people think that this is called Pastor's Chair, and it's like a Monday morning where a bunch of people come and talk to the pastors and, kind of bombard their pastors with a lot of different things and bombard their leaders with a lot of different things. And these are the things that pastors kind of deal with and kind of work with. Okay, and these are things that leaders kind of deal with, kind of work with. And it's a funny video, but it's meant to kind of engage us into thinking, hey, if I'm going to be a leader, what kind of leader am I going to be? Okay?
Hey, Pastor, thanks for seeing me. This is so great. I have been wanting to talk to you for quite a while, and to be right here with you right now is awesome.
Does it look like I have an appointment?
Being the children's minister, first the good news, because who doesn't like good news?
Listen, I've been looking at the numbers, and we are hurting, all right? We are bleeding with a capital bleed, okay?
I know you've been wanting to talk to me, but being the youth minister, I'm really busy, okay? I'm doing a lot of stuff.
But as building superintendent of this here church, I got a problem.
Singles ministry, it ain't working. No one's coming. You know it, and I know it.
There's only one thing I think this church is missing. Snakes.
I just really need to confess to you, my pastor, that the 10 Commandments, I've done all of them. Okay, I've committed all of them, okay? Except murder.
I am the chairman of the deacons of this church.
This weekend we're doing a junior high lock-in. That is a great concept, isn't it? I mean, whoever thought of that? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
What if we rent out the left side of our auditorium to that new hipster church, huh?
Here's my letter of resignation. I'm going back to work at Starbucks because they give benefits.
The good news is, with VBS, we had so many kids involved, and 17 kids came to know the Lord.
I was here long before you got here.
The bad news is we've lost one of them, Timmy.
And I'll be here long after you're gone.
I need you to have my back, okay? I need you to have my back because, I mean, the seniors, they are on me. Not my senior high class, but the senior citizens, they do not like me.
We're not using it. You're not going to fill it up with your messages. And here's the simple truth. That could help us out. What do you say? Hip, hip, hipster away?
Get out of yourself. Just get out of yourself.
How about we let Carl here loose on some of our congregants? See who's without sin and who's not, huh?
I'm sure this happens a lot in churches, doesn't it? No? Okay, well.
And by the way, I can't get that smell out of the band.
So just have my back, okay? I'm really trying. I got a lot on my plate. Do you see that? God has been talking to me really big time. And I think he wants me to preach.
Adios, muchacho. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Carl's out. Carl's out.
No hard feelings? Don't mind if I do. Thank you, sir. Is that cigarettes?
You need to get right with the Lord or get out of here, because that snake's poisonous. I'm not kidding. Carl!
Alright. So, you know, as a leader, as a pastor, as a church member, my goal is for us to, I want you guys to be good leaders. I want you guys to know good leadership when you guys see it. I want you guys to understand that you have the call and the duty to be a leader, okay? So these are things that we're going to kind of address, and so that way we can see, you know, are we doing it? 1 Peter chapter 5. 1 Peter chapter 5, we're going to read verses 1 through 5, okay? 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. Open your Bibles. All right, check it out. If you don't have a Bible, just look up. It's up there. It says this: to the elders among you. Elders is just the word. There's going to be a lot of words in here. They all mean the same thing, okay? Same position, same dude, okay? To the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder, a witness of Christ's suffering, and one who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving as overseers, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be. Not greedy for money, but eager to serve. Not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. Young men, in the same way, be submissive to those who are older. All of you, clothe yourself with humility towards one another, because God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. All right. First thing, verse 1, it says this: to the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder, a witness of Christ's suffering, and one who also will share in the glory to be revealed. What Paul is saying is one of the qualities of a leader, one of the qualities of a pastor, of a shepherd, of an elder, of someone who is mature in the faith, someone who is in charge of another person's soul. One of the quality of a leader, it's a no-brainer, but it's in here. It says basically you need to have a relationship with God, right? You are someone who has a personal relationship with God. Check it out. He says this: to the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder, a witness of Christ's suffering. Peter is saying, I have a relationship with God because I have seen him. I have been with him. I have walked with him. There's a connection. There is a communication. There's a conversation. There's a relationship that's going on. Okay? And not only do I have it, but I know that I will share that with you on the day when God comes back in glory. Meaning that I know that you too, who have maybe not seen him in the suffering, but you who are walking in a relationship with God, you and me will see God in glory when he comes back and reveals it. And so the big thing here is this: if you are a leader, you ought to have a relationship with God. You're not just knowing of God, because a lot of people, they know of God, right? I can tell you, I know Obama, right? Or I know Trump. I know Trump. But knowing of them and knowing them is two different things. You know what I'm saying? If you're saying, I know God, do you know of God or do you actually know God? See, a leader has a personal relationship with God, because when a leader has a personal relationship with God, God is going to speak to that leader. God is going to convict that leader, to challenge that leader, to move that leader towards a direction that he ought to go. And when he goes that direction, he will have the ability to come back and lead his people in the same direction. You can only go as far as you've been led. See, if there's no relationship with God, you're just guessing. If there's no relationship with God, you're just practically in the dark trying to figure out what's the practical solution, what seems viable, instead of actually believing what is possible and actually believing and dreaming what is impossible and what God can do with the impossible. All right? See, a leader has an actual relationship with God. Let me give you an example. When I first came to TLC, and I dropped the idea that every summer we're going to be going to missions. Not just missions around the area, we're going to be going to missions overseas, we're going to go to different countries, we're going to be blessing other people. You know what the response I got was for that? I said, look, homie, right? Okay, they didn't say homie, but look, Tony, right? Look, Tony, your combined budget for your EM is $12,000 for the year, okay? There is no way you're going to be able to take teams yearly on a mission trip to anywhere, right? Maybe to LA, okay, and come back. That's about as far as we can go. You know, that was the actual response I got, right? But you know what I said? I said, we're gonna go. I promise you, we're gonna go. Not because I was like, yeah, check it out, I'm gonna be crazy, right? But I told him because I know, because I've been there. I was a poor college student, and my whole entire summer, for every year in college, I went overseas. I do not believe a whole church cannot do this, right? I do not believe that we cannot do this. And because I have been there, because I was willing to engage with God and obey God in those journeys of having that relationship with Him and going as He called me to go, coming back to TLC, I said, what? Let's go. We're going to go, and we're going to make it happen, right? We're not going to just talk about it. We're going to do it, right? That's why whenever GSMDM comes, I'm always blessed, right? Like we always says, whatever's in the I don't know what is in the offering. I hope it's a lot tonight, right? Usually it's whatever, but you know, I don't know how much we give, but praise to the Lord that God will bless you and then you'll be able to send you off. But we send the whole mission because mission is important. We give. We live in generosity because I know for a fact that God will continue to bless us, right? 5 years down the line, we have made mission our central core of our church, have we not? Right? You know, when we say at TLC, make it happen. Yeah, some of you guys look at me like, dang, I hate when he says that because it means we gotta just figure out what to do and it's just hard. You know why I say make it happen all the time? You know where that picture of, hey y'all, stop whining, just make it happen, right? You know where that came from? That came from a relationship with God where He began to say, hey Tony, I need you to stop crying about, you know, what you cannot do and start trusting in me and what you can do. Right? So God, I can't leave this summer. I have work. I have internship. I can't do it. I need you to and just go. I need you to stop talking and just make it happen. You call your boss. You tell them you got to show up. You got to go. I can't do that. I'm going to lose my job. God, just show up. Make it happen. Right? And the Lord works. It works. When you are willing to stretch yourself, and when the leader is willing to stretch themselves, willing to put themselves in a place where they are communicating and walking with God, that leader has the ability to draw everyone to where they're at. Right? You know, in our church, we have what we call SALT, which is our disciple-making one-on-ones. Right? We do a brother and a brother, sister and a sister. We kind of guide them, and God is so good. You know why God is so good? Because He always pairs someone with the opposite personality, right? Sometimes we have a SALT leader who's all about feelings. Let's sit down. Let's talk about your feelings. How are you feeling today? Like, how is God like working in your life? Is that great? You know? And then and for some reason, God takes that because that's where you're comfortable just sharing. And God takes that and He says, what? He says, I'm gonna give you somebody who doesn't care about feelings. I'm gonna give you someone who's just all about the brain, right? And you're gonna have to figure out how to teach them. Because they don't want to talk about their feelings. They want to see if you know what you're talking about. And they'll have a SALT person that's like, can you explain to me or exposit for me numbers? And you'd be like, numbers? Is that even in the Bible? Like, what? Right? And you're sitting there, you're like, oh, shoot. Can we just talk about numbers? Can we just feel what numbers is about? Right? Can we just kind of have that? And they're like, no, tell me. Show me that this is real. And what do you do? What do you do? Here you are. You're in a bad place. You're a leader, right? What do you do? If you have this relationship with God, you know what God begins to speak to your heart? You know what He begins to say to you? Do you love this person? Do you believe that I have placed this person into your life for a reason and a purpose? And you'd be like, yeah, I guess, right? Then do what needs to be done for them, right? And I will equip you. Your brain may not know it now, but I promise you, you work on it, in 1 year, you'll be ready for it. And so what does a leader do? They grow. They seek to grow. They'll buy books that they never thought they would buy. They start reading things that they never thought they would read. And they're like, oh, okay, I think I get it. Let me sit down and try to parse numbers with you, And you're talking with them and you're engaging with them. And all of a sudden, what happens? They're growing together. See, a leader must have a personal relationship with God. See, if you're a father, going to be a father, future fathers, right? You gotta have a personal relationship with your God, because you know why? If you don't have a personal relationship with God, this is how you are going to lead your family. The way you're gonna lead your family is whatever is common sense, whatever is practical, whatever seems to be logically true, I will lead. God can say, I want you to take your family, I want you to do something in faith. Like, nah, practical, right? This is practical, I want to do this. And we talked about the story about practicality, right? In Ruth, how the father thought it was practical to take his whole family away from their community, supplant them somewhere else, and then what happens to him? Homie passed away, right? He took them away practically to save them, and he passed away. And not only did he pass away, his sons passed away, leaving a poor woman by herself. That's your practicality, because you know why? If you are a man, husbands, father, future families, right? If you are someone who is not seeking to know God, have a relationship with God, your actions and your choices will always be practical. And the problem is you don't know if you're going to take your next breath tomorrow. And yet you have the wisdom and the audacity to believe that you have the control over your future. And yet, if you are a future family man, you are a man that looks to God and says, Lord, you speak and I will follow. You guide me and I will go. Because I know that you're the better director than me. And though it may not seem practical, it may seem impractical, I'm going to trust you and I'm going to bring my family with me. Right? A lot of times, brothers, when you're going to be married to your lovely young lady, they're going to be a little scared, right? Maybe they're a little pensive, and they're like, I don't trust you, right? And if you don't have a relationship with God, they're not going to trust you even more. You know why? Because you don't even know what you're doing. You have no idea where you're going. You're just going to be leading me, right? But if you have that relationship with God, and you walk that road with God, and you marry this lady who needs a sense of, security and strength, and he's like, don't worry. I know it sounds crazy, but I want you to trust me. Because what I'm going to do is for the benefit of our family, for the spiritual legacy of our children, walk with me. Trust me. Walk down this road. Because why? When I was single, I walked the road myself already. I've been there. So walk with me this time. You guys follow? See, if you are a leader, you got to have a relationship with God. You don't know of God. That's weird. That's whack, right? You got to know him. You got to speak as if he is part of your life. That he is he's not just a side gig that you happen to have on Sundays, but he is the center of everything you do Monday through Sunday. Right? And you know what's so crazy? Look at Peter. Look what he says. To the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder. You know who Peter is? Peter's title is apostle. I know that you guys don't know that title, but let me tell you what an apostle title is. This is the most legit title of all of Christendom, okay? To be an apostle, we don't have any more apostles nowadays, but to be an apostle, you have to actually physically have seen Jesus Christ. And not only can you physically or had to have physically seen Jesus Christ, you have to have been taught by Jesus personally. Right? He has actually have to open his mouth and speak to you and tell you what to do. And then you have to be commissioned by Jesus. He says, hey, I want you to do this. This will be your job. There's only 12 apostles. 13, including Paul, right? There's only 13 with that title. And Peter was one of them. And yet, what does he say? I appeal to you as a fellow elder. He doesn't use this title. Do you know why? You know what he's saying? He's saying, you're an elder, you're a pastor. I know what that means. I know what that means. You know why? Because I've walked that road. I've walked that road. I'm not trying to tell you I'm walking the road as an apostle with all this. I've walked the road as a pastor. I understand the difficulties. I understand the hardship. I understand what it means to be a real leader. Right? You can only lead someone as far as you're willing to go. You can only lead someone as far in faith as you're willing to go. Iron sharpens iron, right? You have to be sharper to sharpen another iron. If you are dull, you try to sharpen another knife, it's just not going to work, okay? So, 1, biblical leadership. In the future, if you ever go to a church, you find yourself with a different pastor, the first question you ask is, does this pastor actually have a relationship with God? Are they growing? Are they seeking to grow? Are they constantly growing? You know, when I first came to TLC, I told you the story, right? When I first came to TLC, the idea of, I always preach that there's no such thing as a lost cause. No such thing as a lost cause, right? Before I came to TLC, I didn't really believe that. I said it, but I didn't really believe it, right? Because I'll be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's such thing as a lost cause. Like, I think that fool's a lost cause, right? I mean, you just say it in your head. You don't say it out loud because, you don't want to sound like, evil, but you know in your head. When I came to TLC, though, and then here God has given me my disciples, and I'm like, lost cause or not lost cause, And I look at them and I say, Lord, you got to teach me because I don't know, right? I don't know. And God says, there's no such thing as a lost cause. And so you stick with them as long as you have to. And you do what you got to do, and you cry as long as you got to cry, and you beat them as much as you got to beat them, right? But there is no such thing as a lost cause. You grow. I grew. Right? There has to be growth. When you in a future church, hopefully, right, or maybe one day you leave this place and you're going off to, spread your wings out and you do your own thing. You find yourself in a church. You ask the question: does this pastor have a relationship with his God, with the Almighty? Does he have a relationship where he is growing and not being stagnant? If you are a future father, you have to ask yourself, why am I not building my relationship with God right now? I'm supposed to lead my family towards a spiritual legacy and not just talk about what to do, but actually lead them somewhere. If I don't have a relationship with God right now, who am I leading? If you're a disciple maker, you have to ask yourself the question. We can't just be talking about our feelings all the time, but we got to be leading them towards a direction. If you don't have a relationship with God, who are you leading? How are you leading them? A leader has a relationship because God speaks to their heart, they're challenged, they're willing to change. That is the most beautiful thing about what God does to the human heart. He's willing to change people. And if if a person loves his God, her God, they're willing to change. They don't stick to their own personal pride and stubbornness. They're willing to bend to his will. When you have a husband that's willing to change, you're a blessed person. When you have a disciple maker who's willing to go the distance and change so that he or she can relate and connect to you, you are a blessed person. When you have a pastor who's willing to grow and not just use his past experience to lead, you are a blessed church. Biblical leader needs to grow, right? 2. Look at verse 2 and 3. Be shepherds. That's another word. That means be pastors of God's flock that's under your care, serving as overseers. That means just as a leader, okay? Not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be. Not greedy for money, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. The second thing about leadership is that you have to have a gifting to serve God, a personal gifting to serve him, a personal calling to serve him. See, a leader can be a leader, but you got to have the calling to be the leader, right? Let's say for me, like I've tried so many times to get on the praise team, right? I've tried. I sung a couple times, but every single time God said, stop, please. I'm trying to bless the church, not kill the church, right? You just go back down, right? So you guys have an actual call. Sometimes people come up and they say, I want to lead praise, Tony. I say, all right, but can you sing? Or can you do anything? And I'm willing to learn. I'm like, all right. I think with a lot of people that we give them benefit of the doubt and then they go up there and they go up there. They think it's karaoke. It's not karaoke. It's not the same as karaoke. There's words that you can sing with, but it's not the same as karaoke, right? And then you find them they're all talk down here, but up there they all got all quiet and all pensive about it. See? A leader is called into it. If you're called to be a teacher, guess what? You will be gifted to be a teacher. If you are called to be a pastor, you will be gifted to pastor. If you're called to be an evangelist, you will be gifted to be an evangelist. If you're called, right, to be a father, to be a husband, you'll be gifted with that. If you're called, and everyone is called to be a disciple maker, guess what? You will be gifted to be a disciple maker. The gift will come if you understand that you've been called. 10 years ago, you know, I used to hate public speaking, right? Public speaking was like one of the biggest fears. People would rather die than do public speaking. You know, I think that's one of the things. Like, they would rather die. There's a bigger fear of death. Oh no, bigger fear of public speaking than death, right? 10 years ago, when God called me into ministry, like one of the things I kept saying, I cannot speak in front of people. God, I cannot do that. And you know what happened that first year? I threw up every single message. Right, before every message, I will go out to the bathroom and I'll throw up. And I'll come and I'll be like, okay, just preach, guys. Right? Let's do it. You know? Every single time. Because I wasn't gifted for it. And I'm like, dang, you got the wrong dude. I've never even spoken public. Right? Why would I do it now? And yet, what happens? Right? When you are called, you will be gifted. If you are a teacher, right? And you've never taught a single day of your life, yet you feel the call of God. How do you know? Another question, how do you know I'm called by God? Like, first one, there's some sort of challenge, there's a conviction that's going on in your heart. And then two, your community, hopefully if you have a community, will affirm it. They will say, yes, I really believe in that call that you have. Your leaders will encourage you, okay? That's how you know that call is at least legit. See, if you have a call, that you think you have a call, and everyone else says, I don't think so, man. I don't think you should do it. No, I feel from the Lord I should go up there and do it. I got this, right? That's not a call, right? You just doing things in your head, right? It's all in your brain. It's like American Idol, you know, like all those guys think they can sing, and then they show up. You're like, what is going on, right? It's like, how did you even possibly believe? I mean, I'm pretty bad. Like, I'm pretty bad at hearing, like, right notes, you know, correctly sometimes. But I'm watching American Idol, I'm like, man, if I can hear it, you are really messed up, bro, right? Man, but you got to have a call for it. You have a call, you will be gifted. As a pastor, you ask the pastor, wherever you go, does this pastor seem like he has a call? When he preaches, does it seem like people are listening? Does it seem like people's hearts are being convicted? Are people challenged? Are people challenged to move, challenged to change? Do I feel challenged when he preach? When you talk about discipling, you're a disciple maker. You're out there, you're engaging your people, right? You're called to it, and so you think that you're not going to be able to do it. You will be able to do it. God will gift you for it. God will gift you for it. You just can't give up. Future family, future fathers, right? So I can't lead. I can't be a father. I can't barely even take care of myself. No, right? If God's given you the blessing of a child, He will give you the power and the giftedness to lead that child. Okay? But how do you do that? How do you lead this child? How do you fall after your calling? For a pastor, it means to teach. It means you gotta teach. You gotta shepherd. You gotta be able to articulate what you believe in. You gotta articulate what you believe. You gotta be able to share that, to teach it, to engage people in understanding it. It's not just words, but it becomes reality. Not only are you supposed to teach it, look, check it out. Verse 3, not lording it over those entrusted to you, right? Not greedy for money, but eager to serve, but being examples to the flock. Do you know what sometimes people want leadership positions? They want to come up and speak to the mic, but they're not willing to hold a broom. Right? They want to hold the mic and speak all these things, but they're not even willing to hold a mop to clean the floor. So I want to tell the people how to bless the world. Well, why don't you bless the world by cleaning my floors? Right? You lead by example. You don't lead in the way where you're using your position to lord over people. You know how, don't you hate that when people do this? They say, like, do as I say, not as I do. Right? I'm going to tell you what to do. But you're like, oh, but you don't do that. Yeah, don't worry about that. Just do what I say, because that's more important. I'm older, therefore you should listen. But you should ask the question. are they actually living out and being an example of what they're calling us to do? Right? One of my biggest pet peeves of any leader is this. I don't mind what the leaders ask of me. I'm down to do it. I'm down to do it. I'm down to submit, but the thing is, I have to know that you're willing to do it. I have to know that you are going to do it with me. I have to know that you've done it before. Right? Because when you speak and you don't do, it gives you no authority. When you talk about a good thing and you're like, yo, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do, and you play a good game with your words in your mouth, but you have no action to back it up, you're fake. You don't even know what you're talking about. Everything that you say is just in your brain. Right? You are to be good examples. You're not to do it for selfish gains. So many times people want to come and lead because they like the position. They like to be seen by people. They like to be acknowledged for this. I don't know, like they say, like eager for money. Like I don't know what pastor has money. Like I don't know where this even comes from, right? I mean, anyone who wants to be a pastor for money, you must be watching a lot of TV because there is no money in the pastorate. There is no money in the pastorate. So this is how you know. This is how you know you're willing to go the distance in your calling. You know how? That you get nothing out of it and you're still willing to do it. If you are discipling someone and you get nothing out of that person, they don't tend to respect you. They tend to actually make your life more difficult. They make your life hard, and yet you're still willing to do it. That's how you know you understand your calling. If you are a parent, if you are a father, you're a mother, and you know that you have a child and they don't in any way do anything good for you, and yet you're still willing to do it, that's how you know. That's how you know you've been called into it. If you believe it, like think about your parents, right? What do they do for you? They've done so many things. What have you done for them growing up as a baby, right? You took their time, you took their money. Sometimes they can't go out with their friends anymore. They can't do a lot of different things because, there you are. And yet, they're willing to continue with you. They understand their calling. And in understanding that calling, what happens? They build unconditional love for you. Right? Because they choose to love you regardless of what happens. You see, as a leader of the church, you got to be called. And this is how you know you're called. That if you get nothing out of it, you're still willing to go all the way for it. That's why at TLC we say what? Ride and die, right? Doesn't matter what the situation is, we're willing to ride and die, right? For the problem, for the issues, for whatever goes on. Biblical leadership. 1, remember this, guys. Does this person have a relationship with God? Do you have a relationship with God? 2, right? Are you called into it? Are you gifted for it? Are you being lazy? Are you seeking to use your position to impress and empower and to hurt people? Or using your position to bless and to serve and to give? What are you doing? Right? Are you living your life as an example? Not just with your words, with your actions. And then 3, check it out, verse 4. And when when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. The third thing, right, is that you have a desire to please God. You have a desire to please God, not man. See, everyone, you guys ever know the thing where you have a bunch of friends, right? And the one friend wants to do something really dumb. What does that one friend do? They keep asking everyone, right? Until they find that one person that agrees with them. Because, if 10 people, first asked 10 people, they said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. It's like, okay, whatever, I'll keep going, right? All you need to do is find that one person that kind of tickles your ears and say, yeah, you get me, you got it, yeah, you know what? I have support. I have support for my dumb idea, right? Same thing here. Oftentimes, leaders, what do? We try to please people and not please God. We try to speak into people's ears that they kind of be tickled. Like, I kind of like that, PT. Keep talking. I kind of like that, what you're saying right there about how God loves me and feels for me and all that good stuff. Keep sharing that with me. Don't talk about my sins. Don't talk about my direction, my trajectory. Don't talk about where my life is going. we have a desire to please Christ. That's what a true leader looks like. Let me give you a story, all right? There's a shepherd. He's walking along the mountain path, and he has a bunch of sheep behind him, and he has a boy, his grandson, and he has a donkey. And he's just walking from town to town. He's just walking from his, he took his sheep out to the pasture, and he's walking them back, right? It's a long journey. And so as he's walking them back, he goes to his first town, and the people in the first town were like, man, you're so dumb. You have a donkey. Why don't you ride on it? Like, why have to walk for? That's the point of having a donkey. Ride it. And he's like, oh, okay. So then he gets on the donkey. He's riding into the second town. By the time he gets to the second town, the people in the second town were like, whoa, man, you're messed up. You let the little kid walk while you're on a donkey? What kind of adult person are you? Right? Grow up. It's like, So then he gets off the donkey, puts the kid on the donkey, he goes to the third town. And the third town, the people are like, man, look at that. That kid is lazy. And that adult, he is feeding his laziness. Look at him ride on a donkey. He's like, interesting. And so then gets to the fourth town, they both rode on a donkey walking in, right? And the town was like, animal cruelty, right? What in the world? Why would you like put both your weight on an animal? That's messed up. And so the guy was like, what in the? And he's like, in the fifth time, he's like trying to carry the donkey into it. And so you get the issue, right? When you try to please people, you're always going to try to please people, and you're always going to be changing your opinion over and over. See, we as leaders, we have one person to please only, and that's Christ. And so we don't worry too much about whether people accept us or love us or agree with us. We worry about whether we are speaking and doing what Christ is calling us to do. So if I say something and it doesn't kind of tickle your ear, you don't kind of like it, well, that's great. I'll see you again around some more time. But if it's the truth, it's the truth. My job is not to please people. My job is to tell you what you're supposed to hear. And as a leader, you're not supposed to please people. You're supposed to tell them the truth. If you're a disciple maker, the worst disciple maker is someone that keeps feeding into their disciples' foolishness. That keeps feeding and say, you know what, it's okay. I get it. It's not a problem. I know what God says, but it's all right. He'll make an exception with you, right? For some reason, you're the exception, always the exception. If you're a future parent and you feed into your and you don't live to please your kid, if you live to please your kid, you're gonna turn them spoiled rotten. You know where they need to be. You know the kind of character they ought to have, and you walk them towards that, even if they scream like, I don't want to. Well, get over it. You're gonna get there anyways, right? Leadership, question you ask yourself is, 1, do I actually have a relationship with God? 2, right? Am I called? Am I called and gifted into this? And 3, do I actually seek to please Christ, or do I seek to please men? All right? God forbid, one day, all you young ladies who are in my church, right, you will marry hopefully, prayerfully, a godly man, right? And he will hopefully, right? Hopefully one day you will marry a godly man, right? And let me tell you something. If you marry that guy, and for some reason that guy says, hey, I can't sit under PT's teaching. I can't do it. It's just too hard. That's okay. Go. You go. Go with your husband. I'll be sad that you left, right? But you gotta go. You know why? Not because the important thing to me as your pastor is not that these seats are filled. The important to me as your pastor is that you are growing towards Christ. And if your husband is in a place where he can submit to a leadership, submit to a teaching, be willing to receive the teaching from somebody, right? And actually apply that teaching into his family, then you go there. You go there. Right? That's why it says in verse 5. Check it out. He says, young men, in the same way, be submissive to those who are older. All of you, clothe yourself with humility towards one another, because God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. That you would submit. You see, if you find yourself, listen guys, for those of you guys who are not leaders and haven't like willing to be leaders and not kind of in that place of leadership, so what about us, Tony? Let me tell you. If you are in a place where, 1, the pastor you are pastoring over you has a relationship with God, there's growth in his life, there is a calling in his life, and you can see it, and there's a desire for him to please God, if that's there, then your response is to submit. Submit, not be out of like, okay, reverence, I worship you, Pastor Tony, right? But submit saying this, I will trust that what you have to say to me, PT, is from what God wants from my heart. Submit, meaning that, PT, if you call me to challenge myself to do this and stretch myself, I'm willing to go the distance and do it because I'm trusting that where you are drawing that from is not from you, but from God, and that you are speaking his word into my life. You submit so that I will grow in my relationship with him so that I too will one day be a better leader. You see, if you are a person who is not in a leadership position and you're asking yourself, how do I know? What do I do? The question is, are you willing to submit? Are you willing to submit? If you have a discipler who loves God, you have a disciple who's growing, who's fighting their hardest to grow, if you have a discipler who is called into it, who is willing to pour out their lives in service to you, live by example towards you, wanting to please God, and willing to tell you the hard things in your life, you know what you should do? Not run away from them because they're saying the hard things to your life, but submit to that. Because here's a brother and here's a sister who cares enough for you that will speak to God on your behalf and ask the Lord to give him or her the words to say to you, to call things out in your life. Not just to pamper you, not just to kind of please you, or not to give you like this idea that you are somehow the exception to every single rule, but that will love you. And then if you have a person like that in your life, submit. Submit. And let God use them to bless you. Let God use them to stretch you. Let God use them to speak to you. You know, when I have that habit. I know some of you guys hate the habit that I have. When I tell you guys to do something, I just want you guys to do it, right? I know you guys hate the habit. You know where I got the habit from? I got the habit from my old church. Let me tell you why. I grew up without a father, right? You guys know that, right? I grew up without a father. I didn't have any strong or male or authoritative words speaking into my life. The only word I had was from my grandma, and she's crazy, right? And so it's not a good thing. It's just, that's just the other side. But here I was, a new believer into this church, into this Korean church, and this is what my youth pastor said to me. Day one, okay? He said, I know you're a new believer, but if you would trust me, and listen, it will be my life's duty to help you grow. That's it. And all the older brothers, that's what they said. If you're willing to listen, they're not perfect, okay? I'm telling you, none of these guys are perfect, but they said, if you're willing to listen, we will never tell you something that will be for your harm, but it will be for your benefit. And so you know what I did? I just for some reason I just clicked in my brain. Okay, whatever they say, just do it. It sounds kind of like really weird, but just don't question it, just do it. And they'll tell me to do some random crazy stuff, right? They'll tell me hey, I challenge you. Go do this. I'm like, what? Really? He's like, yeah, just give it a shot. I'm like, all right. Freaking out at first, but then we did it. And guess what happens? You grow. It's to submit. If you find people that have these qualities, submit and let them lead you towards God. Let them walk with you towards knowing God, right? Rather than just saying like, being so antagonistic towards it. Listen guys, I'm not saying that every leader is perfect. I'm not saying that every leader has it all together. What I am saying is this. Does your leader desire to please God? Meaning that even when they mess up, is it in their personality, is it in their nature to repent and do right again? Or is it in their nature to say, well, whatever, I'm older, so forget you? Is it in their nature to say, guys, I've done wrong, forgive me, pray for me, walk with me? Or is it in their nature to say, look, guys, get over it. It happens. And move on. Blow it off. Move on. They're not perfect. but their desire is to walk towards the one who is. Do you have that in your life? When you guys grow up and you guys grow up more, right, and you desire to go different I mean, look, if you go, does not bother me at all, okay? I know that you guys think that this bothers me if you guys all disappear. It will not bother me at all if you sit under someone that you're willing to submit to. Willing to submit, not just willing to like get your ears tickled, but willing to submit. If they're speaking with the qualities of a leader to you, and you're willing to submit to that, and you're willing to grow, let them allow you to walk you towards growth, you go there. Please go there. Please go there. That's more important. Okay? So let's come before the Lord. Let's bow our heads and let's pray.